I mentioned in my previous episode that LeBron James is the first as a player to create a super team. I'm not backing out on that one because he truly had the leverage and power of choosing and creating a super team as compared to other players in history. Now, we're talking about super teams that were built by front offices. And the 1983 Sixers is an example of the first real super team, which is most often overlooked when discussing historical super teams. It is a known formula that in order to win a championship, you need a superstar, a very good supporting cast, good coaching, freedom from health injuries, favorable matchups, and a bit of luck. Still quite a daunting task for every good thing to happen, but what if you step it up a notch higher and make that you have to have a big three in order to win a title? Some big threes don't necessarily work. Just ask the late 96-97 Houston Rockets. They had Charles Barkley, Clyde Drexler, and Hakeem Olajuwon, and then Drexler retired. But they also had Scottie Pippen in 98. Nothing happened. The big threes and super teams that netted results in recent memory are the 2008 Boston Celtics with Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett, the LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh-led Miami Heat, and the more recent one, the Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. This trend is considered to be cowardly in some cases when it's a player who decides to leave a team for another, like Kevin Durant. But when it's built from the ground up by the front office, other fans seem to be okay with it. Just like the Golden State Warriors just before Kevin Durant, but to each his own. Let's just talk about the first super team in my opinion, the 1983 Philadelphia 76ers. The NBA had a major shakeup in 1976 with the ABA-NBA merger. Before that, the league in the 60s was just about the Boston Celtics and no one else. There was this other league, the ABA, who challenged the NBA's popularity. Notable ABA stars were Rick Barry, Spencer Haywood, Artis Gilmore, Dan Izzo, Moses Malone, and Julius Erving. Erving was already known as Dr. J at that time and was the most popular player of the ABA. He was the top scorer of the ABA with 29.3 points per game. He played for the New York Nets and won an ABA championship with them. During the merger, the New York Knicks demanded that the Nets pay them $4.8 million because New York is already a territory of the Knicks. Since the Nets were really small at that time, they had to trade Julius Erving to the Sixers for $3 million. Julius joined Doug Collins and George McGinnis in the Sixers. They were also former stars from the ABA. If you have extra time to waste and look to see what 70s ABA basketball was like, I suggest watching the comedy movie Semi-Pro to get a feel for it. It was about the NBA-ABA merger. Going back to our story, in the 1977 season, the Sixers were developing into a powerhouse with Dr. J. They won 50 games, a slight improvement from the previous season in which they won 46 and lost in the first round of the playoffs. So in 1997, they lost a 2-0 finals lead to a Bill Walton-led Portland Trail Blazers who had themselves a fairy tale-like championship. In 1978, the Sixers won 55 but lost to the Washington Bullets. After that, they traded McGinnis for all-star defender Bobby Jones. They also selected Maurice Cheeks in the draft. Coach Mo, as we know today, used to be a really solid point guard when he was young. In 1979, they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals, and in 1980, they reached the NBA Finals again for the second time while being led by Julius Erving. In the finals, they lost to the Lakers and the sensational rookie Magic Johnson, the only rookie to win the NBA Finals MVP. The following season, the Sixers now have shooting guard Andrew Toney, who was solid at college level. They won 62 games and Dr. J became the MVP. But again, they fell short and lost in a Game 7 to Larry Bird's Celtics in 1981. In 1982, their core of Maurice Cheeks, Andrew Toney, Bobby Jones, and Julius Erving were improving. They finally defeated the Celtics, but then again, they lose to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and the Lakers in the 1982 Finals. By now, Julius Erving has reached the NBA Finals 3 times in his last 6 seasons and always came up empty-handed. He is already 32 years old and his window of opportunity is now closing. The Sixers front office had to do something, so they set up a trade with the Houston Rockets so they can get Moses Malone. Moses, like Julius, have already reached the finals with the Rockets but lost to the Celtics in the 81 finals. Moses Malone was the best player in the NBA at that time. He was the MVP, and he was in his prime at the age of 27. When he joined the Sixers now had 5 all-star players that couldn't get over the hump. Moses Malone, Julius Erving, Andrew Toney, Maurice Cheeks, and Bobby Jones. Moses and Julius were the last 2 MVPs of the NBA at that time, so basically just like Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. The 1982-83 season of the Sixers will be remembered as one of the best in history. They won 65 games, dominated the regular season and the playoffs, and finally, they won the rematch against the Lakers. Moses Malone absolutely dominated the 36-year-old Jabbar. The Lakers were demolished and swept. Finally, Malone and Irving were champions. This dominant 83 Sixers team might have been forgotten among the discussions of super teams, but the thing we can learn from this is building super teams is not overnight, and it can be done through patience and good team planning.